What up, everybody? You are in tune to another episode of Marvelous Talk with your main man, my Bell, my guy, Damon,
What's cracking, people?
and your boy, Big G. And
What's
look,
up? What up? What up?
we got a lot to talk about this episode. And I'm telling you, when I say it's a lot, whoa, it's a lot. I mean, but first, the first thing I want to say, if you haven't watched it yet, that spoiler alert, there's some spoilers here. So you might want to pause this, go watch the episode of WandaVision, number 5, and then definitely come back and we'll catch you up. But since we've got the people who hadn't seen it out of the way, I want to go ahead and set some groundwork here. One, the events that you're seeing happening right now in Westview, Eastview, are happening right about a month after the Tony Stark actual Iron Man snap and where he died. Okay, so these events are current. If you've caught up with all of the movies prior, right? So I just don't want you guys to get lost, and I want you to stay right here with me, and we're definitely gonna jump into our review of episode 5. Dane, talk to him real quick. Tell him what's up.
Okay, so episode 5, there's a lot going on. This is coming out of us last week getting introduced to Sword and kind of the situation with Monica Rambeau and her interaction with Wanda Maximoff in the Westview anomaly, as they call it. So, but what happens in this show, we're now into what could be the 80s genre of Wanda's vision that's going on. And I mean that, first of all, we start with the intro. And guys, I don't know about you, that thing was creepy. I mean, it was straight up, almost like Family Ties, Growing Pains. And I just want to, let me see if I can find this, man. I mean, what blew me away, and I think this is worth mentioning, the intro, the song that was covered in the intro was one of the creepiest songs in terms of what's happening, what's going on. So I'm trying to get the lyrics real quick. If you guys want to kind of elaborate on what I'm just sharing, but I'm telling you, that intro, it was creepy, y'all. I mean,
it seemed very creepy. I mean, you replace the words, and they're making it up as they go along. I mean,
yeah,
We're making it up as we go.
Yeah. Insert. We're in phase. They were really tricky with the lyrics. There were a lot of different things that were pointed out that I think need to be rehashed, and we can read those lyrics when we catch them. But Dane, just kind of catch us up on the episode, and then we can come back to the lyrics of that song.
Yeah, which I have them, by the way. But anyway.
Oh, well, go ahead with the lyrics.
Okay, so listen at this. I mean, it basically tells you the story of what's happening. So it says, you wander the world with a vision of life and how it could be. But then the years come and teach you to just wait and see. Forces may try to pull us apart, but nothing can phase me. If you're in my heart, crossing our fingers, singing a song, we're making it up as we go along. Through the highs and the lows, we'll be right, we'll be wrong. We're making it up as we go along. And there will be days we won't know which way to go, but we'll take it higher. You're all I've desired. When the going gets tough, when push comes to shove, we're making it up because we got WandaVision. So, I mean, it's basically letting you know what's going on in her mind. That she's like, I don't care about anything else around me. This is my world. I'm going to get what I want. So basically, the show starts off, they got the babies, okay? Billy and Tommy. And Billy and Tommy are not getting any sleep. They've been up several days. They're not sleeping. And so they're trying to, get them to sleep. They're putting the little binkies in their mouth. They spitting them out. Interesting thing, Wanda tries to do her hex spell of trying to get them to do what she wants them to do. They not having it. They're like, forget that. So it goes on, and she's like, oh, I just wish we had some help. And Vision's like, it's just gonna take some time or whatever. And he goes, I just feel with, we need some help. And all of a sudden, knock on the door. Here she come, Agnes. Agnes, wonderful Agnes. I say that very, very loosely. Wonderful Agnes. And so she comes in. She's basically like, I heard him, so let Auntie Agnes come to the rescue or whatever. And so, so she basically tells Wanda at that point, Wanda says something. I forget the interaction that happens, but weirdly enough, Agnes goes, should we take this from the top? It's just weird, awkward moment. And they're like, her and Vision are both looking at her like, what is she talking about? You know what I'm saying? But Wanda is kind of like not really questioning it. She's like going with it, and she's like, oh, she's just being a good neighbor. And Vision is like, no, that was on some other level. That wasn't normal the way she said it. So, she's once again, she's mentioning Ralph. She pulls out some lavender, starts spraying it on the babies or whatever. And all of a sudden, there's silence. The babies are not crying anymore. And then next thing you know, they little boys. They went from babies to straight toddlers in a matter of seconds. Now, in the midst of this, once again, Agnes was talking about lavender. She was talking about dark liquor. So it's like, was she trying to make some kind of spell or whatever? We don't know because we didn't see it. But it seemed like she had some working behind the scenes stuff going on. So anyway, stuff going on back at Sword. They're trying to figure out what's going on. And then we see Monica, her situation having been coming out of the anomaly. And interesting enough, they did x-rays, they did her blood. Interesting thing, when they said they looked at her x-ray, they didn't see anything. Could we see some manifestation of powers? I don't know. We know that she in the comic is Spectrum. I mean, I don't want to get into Easter eggs just yet, but I just thought that was really interesting that, yeah. So anyway, as we move along in the story, Monica is basically saying that she feels that Wanda is going through more than just she's just doing this just to be evil. That there's something, because she said she felt pain, she felt grief, like bitter, this anxiety and fear. Just if it was in a personified manner, that's how she said it was like being inside of the anomaly.
Right, so, almost like a weight.
Yeah, exactly. And so anyway, go back into the anomaly, and Billy and Tommy find a puppy dog that they found outside. I have questions about that. Where'd they find this puppy? Was it a setup by their Auntie Agnes? I'm not gonna go there, but anyway, so they're wanting this puppy dog, and interesting enough, Agnes comes in with a dog house. Okay, she comes in with a doghouse saying, I heard that y'all found a. Now, how'd she know that? You know what I'm saying? Just think, how'd she know they had a dog? So she has a full doghouse that she brings into the house. And so Vision is like, boys, y'all not old enough, to have a dog right now. You need to be at least, 10. And Billy and Tommy give each other this look, and they're like, don't do it. And they age up to 10. So it's really interesting seeing them, exercising powers that they may have, or, I'm pretty sure, I don't say they may have, they have them. But you just see that manifested even in them. And so anyway, the next set of things that happens is Vision goes off to his job at the computational sciences place. And now they've got computers. They've got computers and stuff inside of there. And so when they log into the computer, and this is one of the old like Hewlett Packard computers, so it's back in the day computers. And so everybody in the office is tripping. Wow, we got this modern technology. The Vision is nothing. It's like, this is, toy to me. So they log into what would be the email, the email for the time, real ancient, archaic looking email system. It's a message from Sword saying, and what's interesting, all the people in the office are reading it at the exact same time. Like it was like almost like they're programmed. And it's basically saying, Westview anomaly. Please confirm what's going on. Something, I forget the whole gist of what they said, but basically it was almost like a communication from the outside trying to come inside. And Vision is reading this and he touches the computer, and all of a sudden, like some spark type thing comes into his hands. So the guy that's been on the show named Norm, he's freaking out. He's having a moment, and Vision touches him. And the minute he touches him, the dude totally, like, he went from laughing and being jovial to like freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, how long has it been? I need to contact my sister. Like, and then he's like, make her stop. I can't take it. I mean, he's like in complete agony. And then Vision touches him again. Homeboy goes right back to joking. It was like, it was creepy because he just went straight back into joking mode. Now, going back to what's going on at Sword, what they're doing is they're assessing the situation. And interesting enough, Monica does some research on her uniform that was on her when she came out of the anomaly. And it's actually, what it seemed like was, it was her bulletproof vest, but it had been transformed into the 70s clothes that she had on when she came out. So she takes a gun and she shoots it at these clothes, and the bullets, you know what happens when you shoot a gun on a bulletproof vest? It rendered them useless. You know what I'm saying? So the clothes literally transformed from the way they were in the anomaly back out, but in like almost like she said they were like 85% Kevlar, which is what goes into a bulletproof vest. So they had been transformed from what happened on the inside of the anomaly, the manifestation of the way they looked outside. That's very important to let you know that the things that go on outside, when they come back, they're transformed. So that's something I think we need to always keep in mind moving forward as we're watching WandaVision. So anyway, Monica has an idea of sending an 80s type drone into the anomaly, because that way it wouldn't transform into something else, because that would be what it would go in. So they send this drone in, and what happens as they're sending this drone in, Wanda sees it, and they're looking at her on TV. By the way, on her TV show that's going on, she cuts that out, but they can see her reacting. And all of a sudden, we see the red eyes. We see the red eyes, and the TV screen goes to blank. And after that, all the alarms start going off outside of the Sword headquarters, and they all start heading outside, machine guns ready. They all are heading out, and you can see the anomaly, like somebody's trying to come through. And it's nobody else other than Miss Wanda Maximoff in her Avengers Endgame uniform. She comes out dragging this drone, and she throws it at the director dude, and basically says, "Is this for you?" And so she's basically like, "This is your only warning. I'm not giving no other warnings. Stay out of my house. This is my house. This is my people. You don't belong here. No other warnings after this." So it's interesting, Monica approaches her and basically says, "Look, I don't know what's going on, but I know that I hope you understand. You and I, we're allies. And I didn't know that they were going to arm this drone to attack you." And so basically Wanda's like, "Oh, you still here?" He's about to like just go 81 on her again, you know what I'm saying? 86 on her again. But they basically, what happened was, she goes basically back into the anomaly. Before doing that, though, she puts a hex on all of the soldiers, and they aim it at the director dude. But once she gets back to the entrance of the thing, of the anomaly, she goes back in. The whole thing just becomes like this big sea of red as she's going back in. And that's the first part of the episode. Sean, I'm tag teaming you, bro. What's next?
Right. So after that humongous hex, and that's what one of the characters have actually named the area. They said they named it a hex because it's in the shape of a 5-mile length and width hexagon. So they call that zone the anomaly or the hex. After Wanda re-enters, we immediately cut to what the WandaVision show is being known for, is having a commercial. The commercial shows those two same characters that's been from the very first commercial all the way to the commercial 5. And they're spilling beverages and liquid and everything from, it looks like beer to red Kool-Aid everywhere on counters, all throughout the house and the kitchen. So it's a commercial talking about paper towels. And the paper towels are, it's almost like in a Bounty. You know, if I'm old enough to remember when Bounty commercials first came out. And like the Bounty was, the whole idea behind that was the quicker picker upper, right? And they show on the commercials where you got paper towel brand X to the left, paper towel brand Logos brand to the right. And they wipe over the top and you see how it cleans it up faster, right? And then so after she does it the first and second time, the third time she does it, it's at the table with the children. And there's a very interesting statement that's made at the end of the Logos commercial. The statement is, choose Logos when you want to clean it up quicker and faster because you know you've made a mess. And that's a whole big reference back to something that happened in one of the other shows, and we'll get into it later. All right. They move forward and they directly go to a cut scene where you see the children running around the neighborhood with their mother, who is Wanda Maximoff, looking for the dog. And by the way, the dog's name is Sparky, and there's a big throwback to the comics with that as well. We'll get into that. So they're looking for Sparky. What looking for Sparky? As they walk through the neighborhood, they approach this house and a bush shakes. And out from nowhere, to me, because I didn't see her walk up to it, here comes Agnes, what appears where she wraps the dog, has the dog wrapped in some type of cloth or something, and saying that I wanted to wrap him up first because I didn't want you to see what had happened. And supposedly the dog had ate some of the leaves from the tree or the bush that she had by her house that, you know, from the average viewer or the average looker, that would seem like, okay, yeah, a dog could eat something from a tree or a bush from outside and die. But there's a whole reference to about witchcraft concerning the type of bush and tree that the dog actually supposedly ate that killed him. Instantly, the two children become furious, confused, angry, and upset. Well, how they've done every time throughout the episode is that every time there's a level of emotions that go to the children, they grow. They get a little bit older. They change the scenario because it could be everything from a reference that they don't want to feel and they don't understand the emotion to something even bigger. And we'll get into that, right? So Wanda turns and talks to the children and says, no, you can't do that. You know, every time adversity, every time something bad happens, you just can't change it the way you want to. And the kids sort of look at each other like, Mom, what do you mean? You can bring stuff back from the dead. You can do anything. And when they do that, Wanda's like, how do they know that? Because they haven't been around long enough to see her really do too much of anything outside of snap a Sparky collar out of nowhere, right? And then they have a cut shot to Agnes, and Agnes is like, can you bring them back from, you can bring people back from the dead? You can do that? Really? So everybody's sort of acting shocked and awed. And Wanda's like, no, I can't really do that. So she's more or less trying to set parameters of what she can do and can't do, right? As they move forward in the scene, Vision, who appears that he walks from his job up on the family in the neighborhood, and he's like, what's going on? And then they immediately cut to the kitchen where you see Wanda starting to place the different toys throughout the house into a box, and it appears like a toy box for the children. Vision walks in from the yard outside, goes to the sink, and uses one of my favorite products back when we were a kid, Joy dish soap. And he takes the Joy dish soap and puts it on his hands, and he's washing his hands, and he says, you don't normally get a dog and bury a dog in the same day. And Wanda says, well, things move fast in the suburbs. which immediately sparks Vision, not just his curiosity, but his sort of anger and rage about what's going on. He's extremely frustrated at this point because of some of the little different hints that's been thrown at him and some of the little different things that he's seen, including him touching Norm and getting the scoop. So now Vision drops this bombshell and says, I talked to Norm when he wasn't under your power and your control, and he told me what you're doing. So Wanda, acting confused, like, no. So she plays the victim role first. But then after he presses it, she turns from the victim by saying, like, Viz, I have all this under control. I'm trying to make this right for us. And Vision gets more and more frustrated to the point to where, like we've seen in the other episodes, the credits roll, but because of Vision's rage and anger and frustration, he continues to talk through the credits, which is, to me, another huge Easter egg. So now they go on with this conversation, and Vision actually shows some of his powers that he had from the previous known Vision. He has the ability to levitate and float in the air. And so Wanda matches Vision power for power. She goes up under her hex ability in her hands, and they're arguing. Vision says, I can't understand what's going on. I don't remember anything about what happened prior to us coming to this place. So I don't know if it was out of fear of Wanda saying, wait a minute, I don't want to really tick this guy off. I don't know if he's going to get mad or upset. She de-escalates real fast. And so she floats down and she's like, Vision, I can't control everything that's going on here. I don't know everything that's happening and going on. And Vision comes down, he de-escalates, and they start talking. And so now there's this empathy-sympathy moment that goes on between Wanda and Vision, to where Wanda says, Vision, I really cannot control everything that's going on around me. Everything that's happening, I don't know. I don't even know how this started. I don't even know how we got here. And Vision looks at her sort of pessimistically, but even optimistically, because he wants to understand just like she does. So in that moment, she says, I really can't. And then we get the huge spoiler, Easter egg, whatever you want to call it, at the end of the episode, where the doorbell rings, and then there's a cut scene to the SWORD quarters, as well as what's going on in the television show. And so at the SWORD headquarters, the TVs blink back on, and they're like, wait a minute, they're broadcasting already? The show just went off. We saw the credits. And so the characters sit down, and that's at the SWORD headquarters, they're looking at the TV. And then Wanda gets up from the couch, goes to the door, and it's like almost like a slow motion caption, where it goes a little bit at a time, and they slowly pan back from like a television episode from the 80s to like now, like how a television broadcast is today. And you see the back of this individual's head, right? And one of the agents of SWORD that is from the Thor series says, wait, they recast Pietro? And then they do the flip screen, and you can see that this is Pietro, who's Wanda's Maximoff's brother, but it's not the Pietro from the previous version where Wanda and her brother Quicksilver first appeared in Avengers Age of Ultron. This is the Pietro from the Fox X-Men comic books. And like everybody, including myself, and everyone I talked to at that moment is like, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on? How did they bring the Fox Quicksilver into an MCU show, right? And so there's some little sly derogatory comments that's made. And the last thing that just blew me away, and I've talked about this with many people, including the two gentlemen that I share the story, the show with. He says, hey, who's this popsicle? Which is amazing because the Pietro from the MCU had worked with Vision. He was there when Vision was created. So he has no clue or no idea who Vision actually is. You know, and so there's so much to unpack about this episode. And, you know, we got speculations and some possible conclusions and even theories. So if you guys, I'll open it up to the panel. What do you guys want to say?
And so, G, there's some moments that you and Dame has kind of outlined and we went over in the show that stuck out to me. The one is Vision. Vision, she asked Vision when he came in the kitchen, why so formal? And he said, because I got a feeling that somebody's going to stop by. And just then, Agnes pops in the door and he said, with just the right thing that we need. So these are clues. These are breadcrumbs, if you will, or Easter eggs, if you will, of things being done right up under our eyes. See, what you have to understand at this point, Kevin Feige and them are doing a great job at misdirection. They are playing the shell game with us, and we kind of have to look through, leave it to us guys, leave it to guys like Dame and Big G to kind of see through muddy water and spot dry land. But you have to understand, with Agnes, she's fully aware of what's going on. Agnes is so aware of what's going on that she's even prompting, hey, look, should we start over, take it from the top? You want me to hold the babies, right? And so she's not changing from that. And then the weird lavender stuff that she did. And then right after that, the babies pop. So those are things that you have to notice, right? And then another thing that you have to see is the director at this point. The director of S.W.O.R.D. doesn't seem like he's on the up and up, y'all.
Yeah, shade tree.
Don't like that dude. Don't like that dude.
That we're not being told, because there was a scene that we missed in the recap, but it was really crucial. We understand that 9 days before this whole hex thing started, Wanda Maximoff had went and retrieved Vision's body that was in pieces,
yes,
in shambles. And she said, and I quote, "At this moment, I'm not letting anybody take this from me ever again." So we don't know if he actually took the body from Wanda. We don't know what happened. How did he get? We're unclear at this point how Vision's body got to S.W.O.R.D. headquarters. And we're unclear about why it's lying in several different pieces.
Right. And I want to piggyback off of that real quick. Remember, S.W.O.R.D. has changed their name to Sentient Weapon. It's Sentient Weapon. It was not Sentient Weapon. Prior to the blip or the snap, that's not what Monica Rambeau knew S.W.O.R.D. as. Right. Because she made the reference saying, oh, we stopped creating stuff. We stopped doing things. Right. So Sentient Weapon.
Yeah, they obviously were going to use him. They obviously were going to do something to weaponize him or change his purpose, which was interesting. They said that he had a will. He had a living will that he didn't want anything once. And that's why we didn't see him in Endgame. And the preference, I would let everyone know a few weeks ago, we talked about that this was something that was actually supposed to make it as an end credit scene, the post-credit scene in Endgame of her going in and get his body. Now they've actually made it canon. So I thought that was just really cool how they just made that part of the story. It just gives it more of a foundation to me when they did that.
And then furthermore, there was another drop in here that was really crucial. And that drop was when Monica Rambeau and Darcy were speaking, and they were talking about how to get back into the hex. And when they were talking about how to get back into the hex, she mentioned that she knew somebody.
Oh, yeah.
And she made a text to that person. And the person
spoiler warning, spoiler warning.
Spoiler warning. Easter egg warning. The person that she texts is real interesting to me, because I think it has a lot to do with where we're going to end up at the end of WandaVision. And I'm going to definitely kind of tell you who I think it is towards the end of our conversation today. But honestly, these were things that kind of went by fast, but you guys need to stop and take notice of everything. If you don't take notice of everything, you're going to miss something. And the thing that you miss will be crucial. Now, last thing, the Magneto moment. I thought that was awesome about the Magneto moment, where now you have Wanda facing with all of the guns on her. She has all of the guns pointed at her at this point. Every last one of the guns are pointed at her. You see, she's got dot upon dot upon dot upon dot on her chest. I mean, for real. They couldn't miss if, you know, if one person pulls the trigger at this point, she's a goner.
Sure.
And at the end, she makes a reference to the director that I talked about. And then she flips the guns on the director, right? Which shows me the guy's just not clean, you guys. The guy's not clean. Damon, where is this witness, man? Can you talk to me? Where is this witness that we've been looking for in the very beginning? Because it turned from a missing person case to a missing city case. What do you think, man?
I don't know. I mean, I can't even begin to speculate because there's so many holes that need to be filled. And I mean, I think I can't think of his name, but like I said, I think that director, he knows a lot more than what he's pretending to act like he knows or doesn't know. I think he's so shady. I can't stand the dude because he's so shady. It's just, I think he has so many skeletons in his closet, and I think they're going to get unraveled in the next few weeks or so. But he's part of it. I mean, why would he be trying? I don't know. Why? It just blew my mind that he had just, for whatever reason, wanted to take her out. I mean, he wanted to take her out. He had weaponized that drone, and Monica didn't even know about it. She was hot. She was mad. What are you doing? I mean, you escalate the situation that's already out of hand. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what his motives are, man, but I think he's a big part of it. Sean shared some stuff with us, I think about 24 hours ago, that I'm still chewing on that. I don't know if he might bring out today about the director, but he's a puppet master, man. I really believe he's kind of behind some stuff.
So what do you think, Big G? You think he might be a Skrull? I mean, talk to us, man. What do you think?
That was my initial thought, by the way.
Right.
I thought he was a Skrull.
Right. That was something we had talked about, possibly just because the Skrull reference was posted, you know, on the actual show on the whiteboard, you know, that this guy could possibly be a Skrull. I think or believe that he's a bigger character in the MCU. I don't think that they waste time, effort, and energy, especially Kevin Feige, on characters that he's not going to eventually explore and build out. Kevin Feige's got a history or a pattern of bringing people into the MCU that we have no understanding really what they are. I'll give the reference point to director Pierce from the other prior Civil Wars. You know, come to find out, this guy was the head of Hydra, that, you know, that basically had taken the spot of the Red Skull to now run Hydra, and Hydra was a two-sided piece from Hydra as well as S.H.I.E.L.D. So now you have this sword entity, and I'm thinking that Kevin Feige is going to walk down that same street. You know, it's a possibility that what I believe that this guy is the director of AIM, Advanced Idea Mechanics, which is, you know, that lines up directly why Sword changed to sentient weapon. So now you have Advanced Idea Mechanics tied to sentient weapon. And if there's one character that's tied to both Hydra, S.H.I.E.L.D., Sword, and AIM, it's the Grim Reaper. The Grim Reaper is tied to all four of those groups, both good and bad. And so I still are under the idea or the belief that the Reaper is going to play a huge part in the MCU. And that's, you know, goes to my thinking that, you know, is Vision actually Vision? You know, where is Simon Williams, who's AKA Wonder Man in all this process? And for those that don't know, Simon Williams' brother is the Grim Reaper. You know, so and they actually did take Simon Williams' brain pattern and put his brain pattern inside of Vision to like recreate him or rebond him. And another big trait or power that the Grim Reaper has is he possesses the power to bring things back from the dead. So, and it's curious that he can bring things back from the dead, but the kids now know, well, mommy, you can bring anything back from the dead. So they're making reference points all over the place. And when the guys of Marvelous say that this is a huge shell game, this is probably the biggest shell game you will ever see in your life. It's misdirection and formatting a plateau or a foundation to build onto future shows as we move forward in the MCU.
So see, I got questions. So I got a couple questions, Dame. Like, so, and I'll ask you this one, Dame. How in the world, right, is Monica? I mean, excuse me. I'm not even gonna. I'll ask Big G that one. How is it that Vision has a conscious and something that he's being disturbed and he's starting to figure out that things are wrong if Wanda's controlling him?
That's the big mystery. That's the big mystery. I don't understand it. And it's could because we know that she's driving a lot of the reality that's taking place in the anomaly. So I personally believe that everything that's related to Vision, we're seeing it manifested from Wanda, but yet because Vision is still himself in this reality, there's some self-awareness that's going on because of the fact that he's quote unquote alive again. And so I think it's interesting that coming up, and maybe they're going to do it in the next show, but we've seen these leaked images of Vision coming out of the anomaly. I can't wait to see what happens because of that. Because that tells me if he comes out of the anomaly, he's alive.
Mm.
I mean, he couldn't be dead and coming out of the anomaly. So somehow or another, he came back. And, you know, looking at what Sean said in regard to the canon of the comic with Eric Williams, aka Grim Reaper, having something to do with Vision coming back. I mean, it's yet to be seen, but we see that image has been popping up all over the place of Vision out of the anomaly. You know, and he don't look dead when he's out of it because he got his cape on. He's got, you know what I'm saying? He's looking like the Vision that we saw in all the other previous movies. So that's the big question is what is the source of him having life again? We know it's not the Mind Stone because the stones have been destroyed. So there is something that reanimated him, that brought him back. What it is, there's so much speculation we're yet to find out, but it really is leaning more and more to the canon of the comics of my man G is sharing is, you know, Grim Reaper, you know, or some type of technology or presence that reanimated him some kind of way.
Yeah, something or somebody controlling him. Now, here's another interesting scene that I thought was really different, right? When have we ever seen this out of Vision?
Never.
Have we ever seen Vision touch somebody's head and
never
their thoughts?
Never. And what the thing that when he did that, Mod, the thing that question in my mind was what motivated him to do that? Why did he do that? I mean, why did he know, number one, to touch the computer? Because he touched the computer first, and there was a power that went into him, and then he touched the dude when the dude was, you know. So I don't know what motivated him to do that. That's what kept going in my mind. Why did he know? How did he know that he could, first of all, do that, and the dude would come out of, and he touched him again, and the dude went normal. So I'm like,
you know, one of Vision's powers is he can communicate with computers and
right.
other things. So that him touching the computer, I get, but him touching a person,
yeah.
That was interesting. Now, Big G, question number 2. This is and then we'll get to the Monica question. Question number 2. How are you this comfortable after seeing kids pop up from out of a crib to 5 years old. And you see, we know they were 5 years old because we have a cake that says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, there's no doubt. I mean, that at this point, I think we're about 99.9999999% sure that Agnes' character is Agatha Harkness. And for those of you that don't know the whole comic book canon about Agatha Harkness character is one of the oldest characters on the Earth realm of 616 of Marvel. She's been alive since 1692 with the original Salem witch trials. And she has a huge history tied to not just witchcraft and spells, but at one point she even challenged for the Sorcerer Supreme of the Earth realm of 616. So she's on Doctor Strange level ability to manipulate magic and witchcraft. And for those in comic book, that know the comic book canon, we know that Agatha Harkness' history is directly linked to Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, even to the point to where Wanda and Pietro Maximoff, she was there when they were born. And she really knows the true secret of who the parents of Wanda and Pietro Maximoff actually are. And one of those people is Eric Maximoff, or Eric Lyncher Maximoff, who is otherwise aka known as Magneto. So we're laying it down where you're seeing this person who's so comfortable with spells and witchcraft and altering reality and manipulating situations. And she's been doing that all the way from episode 1, to where now she feels comfortable with letting people know, understand, and see that she's really a full-blown witch. So,
hey, Big G, with regard to the picture that Ahmad showed of her on the counter. Remember her quote when she said, "Kids can't control them."
Right. And
she know what's going down. I'm serious.
Right now, what I'm going to say right now is a lot of speculation, but it's comic book canon. The huge part of, and what we've heard from all the chat lines and the stories and people just out in the communities talking about WandaVision is that, are the kids real? Right? So the children in the comic book are shards or pieces or parts of the devil or demon for the Marvel MCU, Mephisto, right? And so she was huge in making that reality come alive in the House of M comic line for the Marvel comics. So Agatha was like the bridge between Mephisto and Wanda. So are we seeing this play out where they're taking it from the comic book land into TV land and into movie land? Don't know, and not as of yet, but I know that my meter is slowly but surely shifting to where Kevin Feige has laid the MCU right on top of Marvel canon.
And you can see it. You kind of feel it coming. You kind of feel it coming. And another thing that I found with the director, and I wanted to mention this earlier, and I totally forgot about it. Why was he asking if she had a nickname? Did she go by Wanda? Did Wanda go by any other name? Did she have a nickname? Wait a minute.
Yeah.
We've never referred to her as Scarlet Witch until we're about to here in just a minute. How would you know this? See, there's some things going on with this guy that's just really, really, really
shady.
Really, really
shady.
He's
really
the
shady.
Reaper. He's the Reaper. He's the Reaper.
I think it could be. And this is another scene. I hit on this earlier, you guys, and I want you both to sound off on this. But this scene right here, this scene to me was really, really interesting. It was interesting for a whole bunch of different ways. One, look at the costume or the gear that she has on. kind of looks familiar to me, right? It looks a little familiar. You know, the color scheme is it's kind of like something that we've seen in the Marvel universe before. Then, where she's talking at this moment, she says that, you know, of course, she knows someone who can actually drive an aerospace engineer that could drive or neurospace engineer that could drive the concoction that they're putting up and they're about to build to ram into Westview, which I really think is a bad idea. But hey, you know, talk to me about this, man. Who do you think this could actually be?
Well, Sean brought up something last week. I think he mentioned it on the show. I can't recall, but you mentioned Blue Marvel, possibly. That's who I'm thinking it could be, because in comic lore, her and Blue Marvel actually have a relationship. Even I think they have a kid too, right, Sean?
Yeah, later on down.
Yeah, so that's who I was thinking that it could be, because she looked very happy when she mentioned it. I know an engineer. So I'm like, oh, you do. future baby daddy, maybe. I don't know. So that's who I thought. But then it could be. There's a whole bunch of engineers, and you know, some people have actually ventured in regard to that. It could be a way of bringing in Victor Van Doom. That's one person. It could even be Reed Richards, because there's a lot of engineers in the Marvel universe. It's just which one are they talking about? So.
Yeah, definitely. Kevin Feige wastes nothing. So when they start making verbal references about things and abilities that people have outside of a genre of superpowers or possible mutant abilities, or they don't make references just to snide or just to throw out there. They're making a reference to set up a specific character. Who it is, I don't know. If I was a betting man, I'd say 75% this is Reed Richards. Even because the visualization, and like how Maud brought up, why does Sword's uniforms look so similar to the Fantastic Four lore? You know,
that's true.
And was there space uniforms that they were shot up in space with? Did it look like that? And when they came back, they had those same uniforms on, and they augmented them a little bit and put a 4 on it to say, "Hey, look, we were the 4."
That's a good point.
Out. So
that's a good point, Sean.
It's not by coincidence or not by accident that they're laying this down just to show you that, hey, look, there's something going behind here that you can't see. And one thing I have to say is that, guys, and this is for all of our viewers and our listeners, don't forget, this is directly 1 month after everything changed, right? This is 1 month. And so he's taking a television show, and laying it down to give us foundation, boundaries, and limitless boundaries as far as what the MCU is going to look like moving forward. So if you go back and you look at our MCU, you know, and you go back and you watch that Iron Man 1 and that Iron Man 2, which a lot of people were falling asleep by the time Iron Man 1 and Iron Man 2, you know, and then you're watching Captain America, and you're watching the original Hulk, and you're watching Thor, you know, and then you start watching the series. You see to where some of the things that was said in those initial movies exactly as stacked up to become what we saw the end of Endgame. So now if we're starting from step one, square one, what are they laying down now to build us out for a full phase 4, full phase 5? It's just tremendous.
Now, speaking of that picture that Ahmad you showed, there was some interaction that went forth that we need to talk about, because they brought up somebody that else said, like, hey, you know, even Captain Marvel, she got her powers from one of the Infinity Stones, and Monica was like, we're not talking about her, with attitude. So that's a whole story in and of itself. Why she hot at Captain Marvel, it might seem. I mean, she didn't even want to address her. She's like, we're not talking about her. She's like totally like, so that's, to me, are we set? Because we know there's gonna be a Captain Marvel 2, and we know Monica's gonna be in it. So is this gonna be the segue into that?
But do we think it's Dane, do we think it's she was mad with her, or do we think she's just not trying to bring that subject up? Because remember, she had tests that were taken that they couldn't even see anything on the x-ray. They were like, hey, we don't get nothing on this x-ray. Why that didn't pick up? And it's so quick to be like, no, we don't need to do it again. You know, she was so.
Well, Sean, now you the well, I call you the Marvel PhD in terms of the comics. If I recall correctly, her and Carol Danvers in the comics kind of had some beef in the beginning. Am I right or am I wrong? I mean, they ironed it out, but I think they at one time had some friction because she was like, hey, I was the first Captain Marvel, which technically Monica Rambeau in the comic was the first one to be Captain Marvel.
Well, Monica Rambeau was the initial person that used or deemed the name Captain Marvel after Captain Marvel actually was called Captain Marvel. The original in the comic book, Captain Marvel name was not reused again until Monica Rambeau used it. And the reason why in the comic they gave her the Captain Marvel genre is because it appeared that her powers were limitless or based on Skrull and or Kree technology. That's why she was given the name Captain Marvel. Carol Danvers was called Miss Marvel. And there's a whole segue from her actually changing her name from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel, where she lost her powers for a while. Monica Rambeau had to carry the mantle of Captain Marvel throughout the whole team setting in the Avengers West Coast, the Avengers East Coast. And then there was a little beef that went down because when Carol Danvers lost her powers, she had no willingness to go on or move on. And the problem stemmed from Monica saying, wait a minute, you were the one that inspired me and wanted me to become a hero and wanted me to be this great thing. And now you're just going to give up because somebody took something away from you? That's not the lady I knew. So there's a lot of little animosity that's going on from comic book land the groundwork is getting laid between Monica Rambeau and possibly what's coming up, Carol Danvers. You know,
so not to shoot down what you were saying, Maud, but to me, it seemed like she had a little sister girl attitude. To me is where I picked it up. Like she was like, I don't, like when somebody mentioned somebody's like, we're not going there. She didn't want to even address it.
Yeah, and I feel that. I mean, it was kind of a little bit of that, but at the same time, I honestly feel as though that there was some different things happening and jumping off at that moment. It wasn't just that, right? I feel like there was more to the story, and they alluded to it because the little side eye she gave, like, well, we're not gonna talk about that. It's crazy. Now, two more things, man, and then definitely we get ready to wrap this thing up, man. Put a bow on it. Sean, you had mentioned this, Big G. You had mentioned this earlier, and I think the dog was another source of Agnes pushing, because see, Agnes had pushed the kids to grow in the first place, right? So now I think this was her trying to push them again to grow, so that whoever she's in cahoots with, we think it's Mephisto. We don't know at this point. But whoever she's in cahoots with want to use these kids. And I think she wants to use these kids, and definitely it was interesting to me how the dog just appeared and popped up. But let's talk about the dog real quick. Let's talk about the dog. This guy, let's talk about him. Who is he?
Sparky. that is Sparky. That is the direct linkage or lineage from where they've taken Marvel Comics and made Marvel Comics MCU canon. Sparky is a character that was created in the Vision comic book line that ran parallel to the to the Vision Scarlet Witch and the House of M. They ran 3 comics all together at the same time. So when they ran those 3 comics all together at the same time, Sparky was a character that Vision created in his mind to make his family feel normal, right? You know, everybody wants to picket fence, 2.5 kids, a dog, a house, a family, live in a cul-de-sac, got kids go to school, go to sporting events. That is what Vision creates in his line or his belief. So the issue is that they're pulling, once again, reference from Marvel Comics directly into the MCU. So I want to give, normally I give 1 thumbs up, but I want to give Kevin Feige 2 thumbs up because, man, he's making it like Marvel is really coming alive. And that excites me as a kid that followed Marvel Comics.
Yeah. That's dope, man. That's crazy. And then I think the last takeaway is the obvious curtain there when they were floating, right? So there's a couple of things in this conversation that I need to pull away. One, the curtain. We see the curtain. What does that look like? That definitely looks like an M to me. And where are we pulling a lot of the references from for WandaVision? We're pulling it from the House of M original comic book. And definitely that's something to me that we need to take notice. And the last piece, Vision said something. He said, man, why there ain't no kids in Westview?
Yeah.
You know, and we as we know, this is kind of transitioning into the next episode because we saw a leak. You know, as we know, we're gonna get Halloween. We're gonna get a Halloween 90s infused episode, WandaVision, which, by the way, I mean, I wonder if we're gonna get like, you know, a Full House reference because, you know, you got the younger Olsen. I think that would be really, really good. That would be smart if they did that. I think it would be very smart. But definitely now you're going to see kids be a part of the Westview experience. Where are all these kids going to come from? I mean, you know, were they always there and Wanda wasn't trying to use them? I mean, you know, definitely there's some questions that we need to kind of stitch together and put together. But as far as the leadership, and I just want to, as we're transitioning off, you guys, we're just, I mean, I know it's speculation, but where do you think we're headed at this point? Where can you see where we're headed at all?
I really do believe that the groundwork is being laid for us to open up multiple different movies and multiple different television shows. I think that you're seeing the groundwork for the future television shows, like even Falcon and the Winter Soldier, possibly She-Hulk. I see possibly Moon Knight television shows tied to this. And then from a big standpoint, the movies. You know, we've referenced Captain Marvel 2, definitely the Fantastic Four. I mean, heck, Kevin Feige himself said that this show was going to be tied directly to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and Spider-Man 3. Yeah. So we're laying groundwork on top of groundwork to move the pendulum from where we are at as far as us understanding MCU canon to moving forward.
I was trying to find this quote. It was actually in one of the promo TV shows, I think for either this week or the week before, I can't remember, but they had a line that basically said, I'm paraphrasing it, but the best way they put it was saying, sometimes home is not enough until you fight for it. There was a line that was in there, basically. That's the mindset that she has, is that, and she said, this is the only, and they mentioned when she threw that drone back at the director, she said, I don't want nothing. Or Monica mentioned, what can I do to help you? She said, you can't help me. This is the best, in her mindset, this is the best life that she's going to have. And whoever, once again, her being transparent, saying she don't know how she got here, she don't know how this, but whatever it is, she's content with it. She's like, this is everything that I've wanted, and anything that's trying to invade it, I got to fight it. So that's the mindset moving forward. Now, pulling the curtain behind and seeing who the Wizard of Oz is, all that stuff, we're gonna find that out. But Wanda's mindset is, I'm fighting for this. So them trying to, jerk her out or get her out of it, that's gonna be that's gonna have some bad repercussions. There's gonna be some bad repercussions because she's literally decided this is her world, and
I think I think she just doubled down on the statement that she made to Vision earlier in the previous episode, where he said we can go anywhere we want. And she said no, we can't. This is our home. You know what I mean? And I think now she's just doubled down on it. And the barrier is interesting to me. Why go all red? I understand that Scarlet Witch's power manifests in that color, but it's just something else at play. And you guys, if I'm really anxious, and I'm gonna hold back a lot of speculation, but I'm really anxious to see who this Quicksilver character really is. I do not believe 110% that that's Pietro, even from a different universe.
I agree.
I'm 100% convinced that this is her brother. And I think the leak kind of helped me with that theory because of the simple fact that there's so much that about them and the care that they had for one another. Because if you go back to Age of Ultron, which, by the way, if you haven't watched Age of Ultron and you're trying to understand WandaVision, that would be where I would start, right?
Yes. Yes.
If you go back to Age of Ultron, they were always there. Like when Hawkeye put the arrow on Wanda's head and she was hurting, and he's like, "Oh, it hurts." He was like, "I'm finna go back and kill him. I'm gonna handle him." That's the type of care that Pietro had for his sister, and the kind of care that she had for him, and she just hauled out Ultron when she found out that Ultron had killed her brother, right?
So they twins. They twins too. So
yeah, it's like honestly, for us to believe that he would even make snide comments towards his sister in that way, it's just something that I'm just not feeling. Like, and then how, like Dame said earlier, how do you not know that? How do you not know Vision? How do you not know Vision? How do you not know?
Right, there's no way.
They got a lot of answers, man, left. We got 4 more episodes, and I don't know about y'all, but I also heard in the room with me, I don't know how real it is, but somebody said something about a secret episode 10.
I heard
that. I don't know if it's real, but I don't know.
Well, the one thing we know for sure is that there's a 2-week gap supposed to be from the end of the WandaVision show to the release of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And what it appears is like Kevin Feige is going to ride this momentum all the way to the end. So I don't think we'll ever have a year like 2020 where there's a gap and we don't see anything from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And so I think he's all in, mash the gas, let's go. And we're going to capture people.
I don't know about y'all, but literally every episode I've been fast forwarding it to see if there's something extra. They gonna do that one week. I'm telling you. Yeah. If they did it in Star Wars with the Mandalorian, I cannot not see them doing this with this show. They gotta have some episode where they put something at the end.
Hey, Dave, I'm like you. I'm sitting there watching to the very end, like, well, wait. It's got to be something. It's got to be something. And when it's nothing, I'm like, oh, okay. But I believe at some point we're going to get a hidden scene or in the very end. That's just the Marvel way. It's the Marvel way. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of Marvelous. I mean, gosh, I cannot wait till next week to see what's going on. I mean, they have us on pins and needles. They are playing a shell game with us. But guess what? We're going to see through it. We're going to sit down on it. Your favorite guys here at Marvelous, we're always going to do our research, and we're going to talk to you about it at the same bad time, same bad channel. We thank you for watching. Myself, Ahmad.
Dang, right here. Y'all be blessed. Have a great one.
All right,
Yes,
y'all
sir.
take it easy, man. We out.
Marvelous talk, baby. Y'all be blessed. One.